Hey guys, welcome back to Film Feature 43. Today we're back in movie theory territory with the 1986 classic Ferris Bueller's Day Off. So, without further ado, let's get into it. So right off the bat, I want to say happy birthday. Congratulations for being around for 35 years to this film. Came out July 11th. 1986, which was last week if you're watching the video whenever it first comes out. So it's been around for 35 years. If you've been around the internet long enough, especially looking at movie theories, you've probably seen the theory that much like Tyler Durden in Fight Club, Ferris Bueller is a figment of Cameron's imagination. Cameron created Ferris and the whole day off in his mind to cope with some life trauma that he can't deal with, specifically being abused by his father and not being this popular kid in school. So if you've heard that theory, I'm not here to just regurgitate theories that you already hear online. I want to put my own spin on it. So my theory that I want to add to this theory a little bit is that the day's events and Ferris are actually real, but things like Sloane and Ferris's dad and the principal and those kind of aspects of the day are not real, and Ferris actually is a Celtic mythical creature. So to start out, let's see kind of the three main points of the Ferris doesn't exist theory. So the first point is the fact that Cameron is sick in bed before Ferris calls him. He looks like he's on his deathbed, not going to be able to get out of bed. And as soon as Ferris calls him and the day begins, once Ferris makes that contact, Cameron's fine. He doesn't really have any symptoms thereafter. He may cough here and there throughout the day, but he doesn't have any of the bedridden symptoms like he had before. The second thing is how fantastical the whole day seems. They travel all through Chicago. They take Cameron's dad's $250,000 car. They dupe the waiters. They're this big hit at the Von Steuben Day, or should I say Ferris is a big hit at the Von Steuben Day parade as he's singing up there. They keep running into Ferris's dad everywhere. Just this kind of unbelievable journey that they go on. People point to this saying that this is kind of a fantastical element, that they couldn't all do all this in one day. And at the end of the film, once Cameron grows a backbone, Ferris seems to kind of disappear and finish off his own little journey. And they point to this being that this is Cameron coming to terms and learning a lesson through the adventure he had with Ferris. And then once he comes to terms with that and learns this lesson, he doesn't need Ferris anymore. So his mind just kind of fills in the blanks of what would happen to Ferris the rest of the day. And it kind of resolves a nice little wrapped up bow with the principal and Ferris's sister and things like that. That is kind of what they point to. If we look at the trip in specific, it pans itself out like this. It's very pointed that they start out at Cameron's house. They get the car from Cameron's house, specifically Cameron's dad's car. So they make it a point to show that this is where the journey begins. Then they go to the school to pick up Sloane, then to a parking garage. Then they walk the rest of the way to the Sears Tower. Then they walk to the Chicago Board of Trade, and then the French restaurant, and then Wrigley Field to watch a baseball game.
Hey, so we Kennedy.
And then from there they go to the Chicago Art Institute, and then to the Von Steuben Day Parade. Back to the car park, and then the whole way back to Cameron's house, where they specifically show them at Cameron's house again, and they make it a point both times to show this is where we began and this is where we end. A lot of people point to this and say there's no way that 3 kids would be able to do this in one day's time, especially walking. So that must mean that everything is in Cameron's head. And I don't think that that's true. I actually think that it is able to be done by Ferris and Cameron specifically, if Ferris is a puka. So if you're not familiar with a puka is an Irish spirit that comes to humans, and they either bring mischief or they bring good luck to kind of get humans to act in a certain way. They normally appear as horses or cats or dogs or rabbits, and that's actually what started this theory. I wanted to prove that the rabbit from Donnie Darko was actually a puka, and I couldn't really find any evidence for that. The theory fell through. So I was watching other movies. I came across Ferris Bueller, and as I was doing research on puka, I found out that they can take a human form. But normally, whenever they're in a human form, they have some kind of animal characteristic, whether it be a tail or rabbit ears. And I started thinking about a specific character in Ferris Bueller's Day Off that just so happens to wear a stupid tiger vest for most of the movie. And that kind of got me thinking, what if Ferris is a puka? In the history of puka, they have been seen a lot of time to take humans on these wild rides. They pick them up at the house of the human. They take them on this wild adventure, wild ride, and they specifically drop them back off exactly where they were picked up in the first place. Kind of sounds familiar. The whole way back to Cameron's house, where they specifically show them at Cameron's house again, and they make it a point both times to show this is where we began and this is where we end. So reading about the puka, I got some information, and then I found the best example of a puka in film is the 1950 film Harvey, starring Jimmy Stewart, where Jimmy Stewart has an imaginary best friend, which is a 6-foot-tall white rabbit named Harvey. He's almost thrown into a mental facility because everybody thinks he's crazy for seeing this rabbit. But the whole time, Jimmy keeps calling Harvey a puka. And at the end of the movie, Harvey manipulates things so Jimmy doesn't end up in the mental facility, and kind of proves to the point that Harvey's actually real. It's not this imaginary friend. In the film, Harvey can manipulate time by stopping it completely and then transporting people to wherever they want to go. Kind of sounds like they start out at Cameron's house. They get a car from Cameron's house, specifically Cameron's dad's car. So they make a point to show that this is where the journey begins. Then they go to school to pick up Sloan, then to a parking garage, and they walk the rest of the way to the Sears Tower. Then they walk to the Chicago Board of Trade, and then the French restaurant, and then Wrigley Field to watch a baseball game. And then from there they go to the Chicago Art Institute, and then to the Monsuba Day Parade, back to the car park, and then the whole way back to Cameron's house, where they specifically show them at Cameron's house again, and they make it a point both times to show this is where we began, and this is where we end. If you think about the trip, it's very hard to believe that this whole trip was done in one day off. I mean, according to Google, it's a 30-minute drive from the school to the car park. It's an 8-minute walk from the car park to Sears Tower, a 6-minute walk from Sears Tower to the Chicago Board of Trading, a 45-minute walk to Chez Quoi, or however you say the French restaurant. I'm not French. But the place where Ferris pulls out his Abe Froman shtick.
You're Abe Froman.
That's right. I'm Abe Froman.
The sausage king of Chicago.
From there, it's an hour and 3-minute walk to Wrigley Field, adding a 3-hour at minimum time span to watch a baseball game. Then it's an hour and 48-minute walk to the Chicago Art Institute. It's a 13-minute walk from there to where the parade is being held. An 8-minute walk back to the car park, and then another 30-minute drive back to Cameron's house. And I know from time to time we see them taking taxis and things like that. I just did it kind of as a broad spectrum thing of where they're just walking everywhere to kind of make the math a little bit easier. And if you do the math that way, it's 8 hours and 11 minutes. We see them starting the day around 10 o'clock at the school, because Ferris spends some of the morning in his robe out by the pool and convincing Cameron to come and convincing Sloan to come and burning that time in the morning. So for them to do this whole day and that's not spending any time at any of the events except for Wrigley Field and getting back before their parents make it home.
Oh, shit.
Without the use of time travel or teleportation, it just doesn't seem possible. Maybe both theories can coexist on the same plane. So my mishmash theory is Cameron and Ferris do exist. but Ferris is a mythical creature. His sole purpose is to give Cameron this day off to bring him to terms with his father and give him kind of the day that he would want to live. But I think in order to fill in these gaps of how they're getting from place to place and kind of filling in the gaps of Ferris whenever he's not with Cameron, Cameron makes up these events like somebody painting Save Ferris in the water tower, or sending a strippergram to Ferris's house to help him get better, or Ferris's sister trying to catch him all day, and the principal trying to catch him all day. And even the fact that they keep running into Ferris's dad. I kind of feel like it's just this random guy that they keep seeing, but Cameron makes that a point in his head to say, oh, that's definitely Ferris's dad, we need to hide. That kind of lends credence to the fact that I don't think that Sloane is there either. And with him and Ferris ducking in the cab, you would think that Ferris's dad would recognize Ferris's girlfriend.
What's he doing?
He's licking the glass and making obscene gestures with his hands.
What? To the point where her blowing a kissy face at the dad will give him an alarm to say, oh wait, isn't that my son's girlfriend? But he doesn't do that. To me, that's evidence that this is all happening in Cameron's head, something that he thinks would be funny, and these kind of counterpoints are coming together to justify the trip and how it's able to be done. I don't think Cameron knows that Ferris is a puka, and maybe even to the point where the only way that he's able to live with the fact that he is a puka is to come up with these events in his head to fill in the gaps of their day off. The Ferris is real, the adventure is real, Cameron experiencing it is real, but all these kind of inconsistencies that we kind of see are made up in Cameron's head to rationalize the existence of everything that we see in the film that is a little bit unbelievable. And that even kind of explains how Ferris talks directly to us as the audience.
Incredible. One of the worst performances of my career, and they never doubted it for a second.
In a film that otherwise is grounded in reality, he's not talking to us. He's talking to Cameron's psyche as a stand-in for us as the audience. But anyway, that's my theory. Let me know what you guys think. Like I said before, if you like kind of these theory videos, go ahead and subscribe. I just did one on Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. I do movie reviews and TV reviews too, kind of on my off videos. I try to do one theory, one review each week. So if this is the kind of content you like, go ahead and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks.